Most people only knew him as Hollywood's ultimate tough guy. But the truth? William Smith could outthink, outfight, and outclass almost anyone on screen and in real life. And what he did next will shock you. William Smith wasn't just another face in Hollywood. If you've followed Hollywood over the years, stay until the end. You'll be amazed by a secret from back then. He was a walking contradiction. Born in 1933, this man had the mind of a scholar and the body of a warrior. By the time most people were figuring out college, Smith was fluent in 5 languages, including Russian, French, and German. Not only that, he earned a master's degree from UCLA, something almost unheard of for actors of his era. But what made him truly extraordinary wasn't just his brain, it was what he did with it. While most intellectuals sat behind a desk, Smith was lifting, fighting, and testing his body like it was a living instrument. He served as a Russian translator during the Korean War, proving he could navigate intelligence and danger in real life, not just on screen. Imagine a man who could analyze a situation in seconds, then physically dominate it. That was William Smith. Even before his Hollywood breakthrough, Smith's life was a testament to discipline, focus, and resilience. He could calculate the exact strategy to win a fight, or a competition, or even just survive on a battlefield. And when he walked into a room, you didn't just notice him, you felt him. His intelligence gave him confidence. His physical prowess gave him presence. Together, they created a magnetism that audiences couldn't ignore, and that directors could only dream of capturing on camera. By the 1960s and 70s, William Smith had become one of Hollywood's most memorable faces, but not because he smiled a lot. He became famous because he had the uncanny ability to make audiences fear him, admire him, and respect him all at the same time. Take his role as Falconetti in Rich Man, Poor Man. On screen, he was the kind of villain that didn't just walk into a room, he owned it. People would talk about that role for years because Smith didn't act menacing. He was menacing. His eyes, his posture, his voice, it was all real. And that wasn't an accident. He brought decades of athleticism, military experience, and personal toughness to every performance. And then there was his work opposite Clint Eastwood in Any Which Way You Can. The fight scene they filmed, legendary. It wasn't choreographed like other Hollywood brawls. Smith and Eastwood pushed each other to the edge of reality, creating a sequence so intense that audiences felt the tension in their seats, and fellow actors still talk about it decades later. But Smith wasn't just about terrorizing the screen. He had a rare ability to give villains depth, showing their pain, their struggles, their humanity. In a world of one-dimensional bad guys, William Smith made you understand and fear them at the same time. That's why when people say he was Hollywood's last real tough guy, they aren't exaggerating. He didn't just play tough, he lived it. William Smith wasn't just tough on screen, he was a force of nature in real life. Imagine a man who could reverse curl his own body weight, box with near-perfect technique to a 31-1 record, and dominate multiple world arm wrestling championships. These weren't just trophies, they were proof of a man who lived in peak physical condition every single day. But it didn't stop there. Smith was also a martial arts expert, earning a black belt in American Kenpo under Ed Parker, the same legendary teacher who trained Bruce Lee and Elvis Presley. That wasn't just a belt, it was a symbol that Smith could move faster, strike harder, and think smarter than most anyone who challenged him. Even Hollywood directors noticed. When Smith walked onto a set, cameras didn't just roll, they captured authenticity that no stunt double could replicate. Whether he was throwing punches, grappling, or surviving dangerous stunts, his body was as credible as his intellect. And the most incredible part? He did all this while studying, reading, and thinking like a scholar, proving that true strength was more than just muscle. It was the combination of mind, body, and willpower. And what he did next would make even the toughest men on set stop and stare. Here's the twist that surprises almost everyone. Behind that granite-hard exterior, William Smith was a poet and a thinker. While most people only saw him as a villain, a fighter, or a brawler, He spent hours reflecting on life, love, struggle, and perseverance. In 2009, he published The Poetic Works of William Smith, a collection that revealed a sensitive, deeply intelligent side to a man Hollywood only knew for raw power. His poems weren't just words, they were glimpses into the soul of someone who had conquered both real and imaginary battles, yet never lost his humanity. This duality, muscle and mind, toughness and tenderness, made him unforgettable. Audiences didn't just admire his fights. They felt the weight of a man who lived life fully, embracing both the battles outside and the reflections inside. And yet, despite his incredible talents, there was more to his personal story that few ever knew. A side that would completely redefine how people remembered the legendary tough guy. Even legends like William Smith had a personal life that grounded them, and his story is just as compelling off-screen. He was married twice, first to Michelle Smith for 20 years. During those decades, she was his anchor, supporting him through the grueling physical demands of Hollywood stunts and the pressure of long shoots. But the story doesn't end there. In 1989, William married Joanne Cervelli, who would become his lifelong partner. She wasn't just a companion, she was a stabilizing presence, someone who stood by his side through the ups and downs of fame and eventually retirement. Together, they built a home and a life that reflected the same dedication and loyalty he brought to his craft. William was also a proud father of two, passing down not just his name, but his legacy. His son, William III, carried on the family heritage, while his daughter, Sher-Ann, shared a deep bond with him. They were a source of joy, love, and pride, reminding everyone that behind the intimidating persona was a man capable of deep, enduring connections. And yet, even with family and fame, William Smith never stopped defining what it meant to be truly tough. Even a legend like Smith had heroes, men he believed truly embodied toughness in Hollywood. His list of 6 iconic actors wasn't just about who looked strong. They had to have real-life grit, presence, and authenticity. He named Lee Marvin, a former Marine whose real-world experiences made him unshakable on screen. Charles Bronson, the stoic working-class loner whose quiet intensity spoke volumes. James Coburn, cool, wiry, and lethal, with martial arts discipline that made his every move feel deliberate. Robert Mitchum, effortless menace, a man whose reputation for rebellion was fully backed by his on-screen aura. Steve McQueen, the king of cool, whose physicality and daring attitude made him an enduring symbol of rebellion. Clint Eastwood, minimalist, commanding, and intimidating with every glance, embodying the pinnacle of Hollywood toughness. Smith didn't just admire these men, he understood them, having worked in the same world of stunts, brawls, and high-stakes acting. To him, being tough wasn't about yelling or showing off. It was a combination of skill, intellect, discipline, and life experience. And he didn't just talk about it, he lived it. By the time his career ended, William Smith wasn't just remembered as an actor, he was remembered as the last true Hollywood tough guy, a man whose life, strength, and mind set the standard for what toughness really meant. Most people only saw the muscles, the scowl, the fight scenes. But William Smith was more than a Hollywood tough guy. He was a strategist, a thinker, and a man of extraordinary intelligence. He could analyze a scene, a fight, or even a story in ways most actors could only dream of. Directors often marveled at his ability to combine raw physicality with nuanced acting, turning a simple punch or stare into a moment that felt real, tense, and unforgettable. He didn't just play the character, he became the character, bringing a depth rarely seen in action films of his era. And yet, despite all this skill and brainpower, Smith remained humble and approachable. He never let his legendary reputation make him arrogant. To those who worked with him, He was the ultimate combination: fierce, intelligent, reliable, and inspiring. A true mentor both on and off the set. But what really set him apart wasn't just his intelligence or toughness. It was how he carried it all in everyday life, far away from cameras and applause. William Smith passed away on July 5th, 2021, at the age of 88, at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, California, a place that has cared for Hollywood's legends for decades. Even in his final days, he was surrounded by colleagues, friends, and fans who respected him deeply. His death marked the end of an era, the last true embodiment of a Hollywood tough guy who combined intellect, athleticism, courage, and heart. With over 280 screen credits, Smith left behind a legacy of performances that will never be forgotten. From brawling action heroes to complex villains that audiences both feared and admired. But more than that, he left behind a life story that inspires, a man who refused to be one-dimensional, who could fight, think, love, and reflect in equal measure. And today, when people talk about what real toughness means in Hollywood, one name continues to resonate: William Smith, the scholar, the warrior, the poet, and the last true tough guy. He may be gone, but the legend will never fade. William Smith wasn't just a tough guy on screen. He was the definition of real toughness in every sense of the word. He could fight, strategize, and dominate physically, but he also thought deeply, loved fiercely, and lived with integrity. Few in Hollywood could claim that rare combination of brain, brawn, and heart. But Smith did. From his early days as a child actor to his scholarly achievements, to his legendary athletic feats, to his unforgettable screen performances, every chapter of his life proves that strength comes in many forms. He was a warrior, a poet, a father, a husband, and an inspiration to everyone who saw him live and on screen. And perhaps the most remarkable part, he never compromised, never pretended, and never stopped pushing himself, whether it was in a brutal fight scene, a grueling training session, or quietly reflecting with pen in hand. So the next time you think about Hollywood's toughest men, don't just remember the characters. They were shadows of a man who truly embodied courage, discipline, and authenticity. William Smith may have passed in 2021, but his legacy continues to inspire. He reminds us all that being truly tough isn't about showing off. It's about living fully, pushing limits, and staying true to yourself every single day. William Smith wasn't just a legend on screen. He was a legend in life.